All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another session for our weekly office hours. Before we open it up to questions, I did just want to cover a few updates that were made since last time. Let me pull up my screen share here. Our programmers are working on the test environment, so I won't really be able to screen share just yet. So, but maybe they'll get that restored while we're on the call here. But um, since our last session, one of the updates we had that went out was there was an issue when saving a service. If you selected a provider, um, if you selected, another provider that was not your organization, um, we were seeing this provider field is required error message. Our programmers updated that, so you'll be able to select, from your organization, for WEO provider or other provider as well. So we got that one corrected. Another issue we had was we had two columns in the reporting system here, one for customer status, one for program completion status. There was an issue with the same status being displayed here. And, we had an update where we added, the training completion status. And so we separated this out, the training completion status and the program completion status. So the training status would be this customer status column here, and the program completion status is that second selection here. So our programmers corrected that so that the correct status corresponds to the appropriate column in this table here. Let's see. Nope. All right. So then the next one, there were a couple issues with the program completion tab that we heard from some grantees where they weren't able to save the completion status. And one of the examples was if you selected withdraw, it would ask you to select a reason, but there's no reason that populates in CEJA. So that was corrected. And there's also, if you'd selected exited, some text from you see this message for required fields, but that's also something that's not in CEJA. But those have been corrected as well. So you'll be able to update the program completion tab in the system. And then the other updates we had were for, let me fix this screen here. So in the program, we did add a option for referred to non-CEJA program, if that's how it turned out with the customer you were working with, as well as an option for adding on a wait list and pulling those statuses in to the customer list there. And I think those are all the updates that I wanted to cover. So we'll go ahead and open it up and see if there are any questions that anyone has about CEJA. You can add them in the chat, or if you'd like, you can unmute and ask away.
Uh,
Yolanda, if you're asking a question, it looks like you might be on mute or audio's not coming through. Still not hearing you if you're talking.
Just put it in the chat.
Oh, I heard you just now.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, yeah, now I
Hear
can
me?
hear you.
Okay. I have the worst luck with my speaker and my headphone set. So my question was, I know that you guys had showed this before a while back, and it was on how to add in their barrier reduction costs into their individual files, like when you give a bus pass or gas stipend, or their stipends in general, but I couldn't find it
Yeah.
anywhere.
So, like I said, I won't be able to kind of walk through it on the screen, but I think we might have, let me go to the partner guide here. Um, so yeah, in our partner guide, whether it's ClimateWorks or Workforce Hubs, we do have a link to our Quick Start guide. Excuse me. And in the Quick Start guide, let's see, in our video for number 6 here, Career Plans and Services. Get through this ad here.
I was looking, I didn't go down the phone.
Yeah, so let's see. Let me fast forward here, see where in the video we update the beer reduction service. This one maybe? No, okay. Can you go in? All right, so you can add a service. Let's see here. Okay, so maybe. Okay, I think this is it here. So, yeah, after the service needs assessment is completed, and if a barrier reduction service needs to be added, you can add it in the career plan on this full screen here. Through this button here, add steps and services. You can select to add barrier reduction, and then when we're editing that, we'll assign it to a goal, give it a start and end date. We'll open and update the status here. It looks like I'm just adding in the status here. But then when we go to the dollar value of service tab, we can select the add service cost button. And when we do that, the window will open where we can select the service type. And that's kind of the broad category there, as we can see, housing, transportation, dependent care, and so forth. And based on the selection we make there, the service subtype dropdown will populate with, the costs that fall under, in this case, housing assistance. And so we'll enter in that subtype for the barrier reduction service here. And okay. And so then we'll enter the drop down for the payment method, the start date when we're first paying that, the payment cost, how many times it's offered at this cost, whether or not it's a cost estimate, and how it was paid by. Is it a split payment? And then we can click save. And then we'll see that the cost has been added into the system. And when we refresh the progress page, we'll see that cost is pulling through.
Okay, I'm doing it right. Yeah. I just I didn't see, I think I see this on some of them, but then I wasn't sure. It's almost like every time I go in here, I have to do different steps. Okay, but I got it right. Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry, everybody, but I did it a couple of times for the bus pass, but then I couldn't figure it out for. Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, of course. Let's see. I see a question in the chat. If we have participants that complete job-specific training with a specific partner and then transition into an OJT with another partner in our hub, do we co-enroll the participants since the original partner needs to follow up? Well, we can't exactly, or Larry, I think, looked like you may have got to chime in here.
Yeah, this may be a scenario that we might need to chat about, Emily. Not quite sure how we would accomplish a co-enroll situation within the same hub. Um, and assuming this other, I'm assuming you say the other partner is a CEJA partner.
Yep, that's correct. So for instance, we have like our grassroots organization. So let's say one of them does the job specific training. And then Goodwill, they handle like all of our OJTs and like the transitional services. So we weren't sure how they could like document all of their transitional services unless we would just give them access to the original one, if that makes sense. Since like the original organization would have to do like the follow-up at a month and 2 months and 3 months and 6 months and 9 months and so on.
Right. Yeah, so maybe this is a technical question then. Not quite sure how to accomplish that within the same red team, David.
Um, yeah, I think we might need to.
I'm going to
Maybe,
chime in real quick. Do
maybe
you
a
do you need
sidebar.
to really co-enroll them, or isn't it just more about adding the service and identifying the provider who is providing that service with that service? And then, yes, they would need to have, if they're going to be entering their own services, whoever's doing the OJT, if they're entering their own services, then I would assume they would need to be given access to the system.
Yeah, and I was going to chime in. Pretty much the same thing, Natasha, but and just emphasize, yeah, like wouldn't this be an issue of just resolving to make sure that everybody in that chain kind of has access to be able
That's
to
access, yeah.
interact with that record?
Yeah, that would be perfect because we could update the like individual employment plan and stuff to reflect all of the partners as long as they'll have access. I think that would be perfect.
I'm assuming that's doable.
From a technology, I mean, from the reporting system, sure. We just
Okay.
need to know who needs to have access and which group that they're associated with, and then yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
And if we're done with that one, I had a quick question going back to the barrier reduction fund, David.
Yeah.
I think we've got some grantees using that. I don't know what you call it, that little module or process for stipends too. And I guess I just wondered from your side if you're seeing any commonality or discrepancy in kind of how people are handling that. Because I think what I have seen is them using that barrier reduction process, but then doing case notes for the stipends. Does that sound right?
Yeah, because there's yeah, I won't be able to really show it exactly, but in our I think it's under for the service type if other is selected, the service subtype, I believe we have one for stipend. And so they could, select it, add it there, and then, leave a case note once that's uploaded.
And is it, and so I guess if that's something that they're distributing once a week or once a week, whatever it is it one record that they continue to update with the cumulative amounts of those stipends, or should we advise them to go in each? We probably don't want them to go in every week or every 2 weeks and create a new record for each distribution, right? Like, can they go back in and add in the case notes, like, 4/8 gave the stipend, 4/15 gave the stipend, 4/22 gave the stipend, that kind of thing?
Yeah, they don't need to add, like a second barrier reduction service or, if, or even, like a second cost, they could, system, they could, click to, edit this pencil icon here, and then, update the frequency of that, cost there. So, maybe initially it was, just one time, but then if they need to update it, 2 or 3 or 4 times, they can update the frequency of it, and enter it that way. So yeah, they wouldn't necessarily need to,
Okay.
add a
And they
second
could even
column.
put the notes down in the bottom, like
Yeah.
whatever dates that they're there. So it don't necessarily need to have a separate case note unless you want them to.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Let's see, there's another question in the chat. How do we close out accounts and have them show as completed? So I need to go back to, let me see how much we have in our instructional document here. So all of the services will need to be marked as, closed, whether that's, successful completion or withdrawn. They need to have a status that's not, started open. So that will, be the first thing to do there. And once, all the services have been updated, you can select, let's see, in this case, we'll say, this, let me zoom in here a little bit more. This add completion status button. And, once all those services have been updated, you'll be able to update the completion status button for, well, actually we split this out. Let me go back over to this one. So the training completion status button, you can, select, complete. And the other option is, withdrawn. So, either of those selections, you'll be able to mark that there. And so that's kind of, the training side of things. And then for the program completion status, we have, exited, not exited. They may still be receiving transition services after the training completion status, and they would remain not exited if they are receiving those transition services still. But if they're not, or the transition services are no longer active for that customer, then the program completion status, they can then be marked as exited. And going back to the guide here, you can add a transition outcome. I think we need to update these. We took some of the stuff out, but you can add a transition outcome by selecting that button there. And then we have a window that comes up that'll show, did they start an apprenticeship? Did they, find a job? And we have a few other options as well, so that you can add those to that and fill out the information that populates in the window. Let me see if we can see this in action here in the video. I need to update this recording as well. Yeah, let's see. Let's go back a little bit further here. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so yeah, that's where we can update the status, but then when we click that at transition outcomes, we can select the outcome. So let's see, apprenticeship, job, place. Yeah, depending on which selection, you can then fill that out as as needed. Let's see, so in this case, they're filling out the apprenticeship outcome. And when we select save, and leave the case now, and when we refresh, we'll then see the transition outcome there. Any other questions?
I'll jump in one more time just to check to see. Savannah, are you available?
Hi, yes.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just want to check. I couldn't remember where we left it after the last call with those inquiry contacts we were having trouble kind of resolving in the system. Did we ever get that figured out?
So I was going to say we'll need to make an update to the system, but what Natasha and I were thinking was, and let me pull up. Actually, I don't know if I can, but and these are the inquiries that are not eligible. Was that right, Nate and Savannah?
Yeah, I think so. Is that right, Savannah?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so the update we were talking about would be if that's the case in the pre-screening window where does not meet eligibility requirements is selected. When the pre-screening is saved, we want to have an update so that that would update their customer status from inquiry to inquiry not eligible. And we would also add in that customer list search that status in the drop down so you could kind of differentiate between the inquiries who are not eligible and then the other inquiries that you can take a look at and continue to update and see if they are eligible.
And then I guess in thinking about that, just make sure we're also thinking about the dashboard too, right? So once a student goes inquiry ineligible to participate, that they would no longer show up on a dashboard as showing them like needing action, right?
Yeah, I'm loading on another tab. I'm opening up the production dashboard here because I wanted to take a look at the rows that those inquiries might appear in. Okay, let's see. Up here. Okay, I can pull this over since this is everybody here. So you'd be showing up in this first one, customers with an inquiry status. There's no office past due. I think that would really be the only. And even then, I think as part of the update, when they're not, when we have that, not eligible or not interested, we can, rather than have them display in this first row here, we can, put those with the status inquiry not eligible into this row here. Just make a note for our programmer about that as well.
Okay, cool. So on this one, we're just kind of in a holding pattern for the update then.
Right.
Hey, David, is that particular update in the sprint?
It isn't, but we can take a look and see. Yeah, I'm sure we could, probably fit that in the current sprint though.
All right. Well, if we can fit it in, we will. We'll just have to take a look and see what
Yeah.
we can exchange out if need to be.
Yeah.
I actually had a clarification question
Yeah.
for the wraparound. So that's where the stipends will be then, where we entered in the barriers.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Savannah, were you guys already doing that? I thought I remembered seeing that in your system, but if not, I think I'm just curious to know how, if they're not doing it this way, like how are folks doing it? If there's an easier way to do it, maybe we pick that. But yeah, but I think for now, folks are kind of putting it in that barrier reduction. But yeah, were you doing it a different way?
No, I started entering them in that section, but I just wasn't too sure just because the overall service was wraparound. So I thought it just.
Yeah, I guess I'd say this is not the most elegant solution, but I think if we can just all get on the same page of doing it this way, then then maybe we don't need to rush to create a different way of doing it for now. If we're all doing it the same way, then we should be able to track what we need, right? So that's just kind of where my head is on it right now. And then if we need to create something specifically for stipends, maybe we can discuss that once we've got a chance to breathe and we've got things kind of up and running.
Alrighty, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we can end our call here. Nate, Larry, did you have anything else you wanted to add before we end the call?
I don't think I have anything additional right now.
Yeah, I think that's all for me. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, I will get this recording posted to the partner guide, but yeah, if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out through the help desk or through the regional administrators. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.